You are listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast brought to you by Birmingham Live.
Hello, welcome back to the Claret and Blue podcast. My name is Dan Rowlands and I'm joined for the first time, I think, since the back end of last season by Pat Rowe. Pat, you've had about 3 holidays in the summer, to be fair. How are you, mate?
That makes it sound like I haven't been working tirelessly at the same time as well. I have been grafting, writing about Villa, but yeah, I've been on a few holidays. But yeah, I'm good. I'm excited to get back into this. It's been a while.
Yeah, strange really, because obviously we played the first game of the season now, and there's a lot of people still rightly annoyed by that because we've not talked about pre-season or anything so far with you or your kind of expectations and hopes for the season. If we rewind back to your mentality on Friday night, let's say, what are your expectations and hopes for the season?
Well, I was in Benidorm then, so I was slightly distracted. No, I mean, I was never one of those. I know I'd like to say I've got blind optimism, but I'm not stupid with it. I never thought, I'm just going to shut this window because of the dog barking. I was never unrealistic with it. I thought, oh yeah, top 6, whatever. I've seen a few people say, like, oh, we should push that with the players you've got and whatnot. But I thought if we could just do what we wanted to do last season, but when I feel like it was unrealistic, thinking without Grealish we were going to get like 9th, 8th, 7th. But yeah, I feel like 9th would be a good season this season. Just build on, improve on what we did last year, because slipping to 14th wasn't acceptable, really, was it? We've been over that. We don't need to go back into it. Yeah, I like everyone else, thought there was not a chance in hell that we'd be losing to Bournemouth. Scott Parker's comments led me into a bit of a false sense of security, saying they're short. They haven't got the players. Their 2 signings are both injured. I thought, surely, at the very least, we'd just grind out a classic Gerrard 1-0, block the opponent out. But yeah, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. But yeah, my expectations now, I'm not going to go into disaster mode. Like, you can't go from one night thinking we're going to push on, make progress this year, and Gerrard's the man to do it. We've made all these signings, being happy with it, to complete disaster. Gerrard's not the man for the job, and we need to spend another 100 million. I'm not going to go to that. It's one game. There's 37 more. I'm not panicking.
Yeah, I agree with the sentiment. There's a few questions coming through the comments already. The first one is asking whether I've calmed down since Saturday. I was just annoyed on Saturday. I was working on a Saturday, which is never fun, is it? Working on a Saturday evening. It was also my mum's birthday, so we were having a bit of a get-together. So I was kind of dipping away from that, doing work. Did all my duties, of course. But Villa losing is the cherry on the birthday cake, with the opposite situation of that, the turd in the middle of the birthday cake. If we'd have won on Saturday, I'd have been delighted. It would have been a lovely day, and I'm doing the podcast is a pleasure. I have calmed down since then, but I've not accepted what we've seen. I still feel the same way that it isn't acceptable to lose that first game. Even if we won the next 2 or 3, you'll still look back on losing against a relegation candidate, newly promoted side, as a bad result. There's no way to dress that up and say it's a good thing.
Yeah, you'd be like, oh, why couldn't we do that there? And then we'd be there. You'd be looking at where the 2 points would have got you, and it's always the way, isn't it?
But you've got to accept it and kind of put it behind you now. It was just there was so much optimism before Saturday, and not that we're all saying yes, we're going to get into Europe, but new signings and pretty decent start to the season, and let's get ready. If you win that first game, that momentum builds into this week as well, and all of that falls flat literally 90 seconds, 2 minutes into the opening weekend, which is so disappointing, and that's what angered a lot of people, I think. But we've got to accept it, take it on the chin and move on and look forward to Everton. And the title of this podcast is Reasons for Optimism for Everton, because as I said on Saturday, I'm not going to write off a 38-game season after one game, because it's silly. Arsenal lost the first 3 last season and almost got into the Champions League. Newcastle didn't win for 14 or 15 games and finished above Villa. So, we could lose the next 2 or 3 and then still go on to have a half-decent season. But it's just the feeling and the mood and, the perceptions amongst the fan base that feels a little bit disheartened by the whole thing, because I'm going to Villa Park on Saturday. If we're 1-0 down after 20 minutes, it's not going to be nice in there, is it? I'm not saying there's going to be boos and Gerrard out and stuff like that, but again, just the optimism drains from our faces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I did a tweet yesterday, and it was like I was just on shift. I just thought I'd look through the stats of Villa's first few games of the seasons of the Premier League. I think we lost 2-0 to Wigan one season. I think that Hugo Rodiego, I remember him scoring. Imagine that if that happened now. And that was at home, I'm pretty sure. 2-0 to Wigan on the first day of the season at home. But yeah, the first game of the season doesn't define your entire campaign. So I wouldn't say there's pressure on Saturday, but if we lose, then you could probably the angst and the anxiety probably does rise throughout the fan base. But yeah, I'm hoping we just replicate the same. They've got a Goodison Park last time we met them, like grinded out 1-0, weren't it?
It's the same things we were saying exactly this time last year when we lost the first game to Watford and then had Newcastle as our first home game. And I was saying that it was a must win. And people are going, it's a must win the second game. I don't mean it from a points perspective. It's just from an atmosphere point of view. If you lose 2 games and Everton and Bournemouth are 2 sides that might get relegated and Villa were losing the first 2 games, like that, from just a mentality point of view, and everyone kind of keeping their heads, losing the next game is not possible. It's not acceptable. So in that perspective, it's a must-win that Villa, or must not lose at least, get a decent result on Saturday. I think we will. I think we will bounce back. There's got to be some kind of reaction. We'll get onto team news and stuff in a bit. Obviously, it's a few days out. We've got to have injury news and the presser and stuff, but we'll go through a bit of a predicted 11 as well. But I think we will bounce back. I'm expecting a reaction. Would you agree with that?
I think when we were talking about the pod before I came on, you were saying, what are the reasons for us to be positive? And I think the only one I can really think about is that we have players on the bench that should be starting. They can come on, and after a performance like that against a team like Bournemouth, not to undermine their quality and whatnot, you expect to see maybe 2 or 3 changes to the starting lineup. I'm not gonna lie, a few of the choices, actually just one to be fair, for the Bournemouth game surprised me. So I felt throughout the whole pre-season it was Watkins. It was Watkins every week. Like, he was going for Watkins. If Ings came on, it was as a substitute or in a diamond playing with Watkins. And then the first game of the season he goes Ings up top on his own. It just confused me a bit. I was talking to my friends about it. Ings isn't a striker that can play up top on his own. Like, it's just one of those things. I think at Southampton about 92% of the time he was playing with another striker. I just don't think you can go Ings up top and then play the way we did with all those crosses and whatnot. And
it made no sense.
It just doesn't make sense. Ings plays off people. He isn't the target man. He isn't going to stretch the defence with his pace. He plays off players like Buendia, etc. like that. He'll get in behind the line, but he won't. He doesn't have that pace to cause problems in behind off long balls and whatnot. Yeah, that's the only thing that could confuse me. I'm looking forward. I think he's got to make at least 2, maybe 3 changes for this game on the weekend, and I'm hoping one of them's Buendia.
Well, he's not a lone forward, is he? When he's always played in amongst the 2, but if he was playing in the system where you got the 2 narrow number 10s, there's at least bodies around him to work with. But having Bailey and Coutinho just flipping crosses in, it didn't work. I mean, I'm not saying that Watkins would have been the answer and we'd have won the game if he'd have started, but like you said, it was a takeaway from pre-season that we hadn't played Ings up front on his own for the whole 5 games, as far as I'm aware. So to do it in the opener is away from home is strange, but obviously Gerald's got his reasons, and hopefully we'll have realised it didn't work and changes will be forthcoming for the weekend.
But then again, I feel bad saying that because, like I've thought throughout the whole summer, I've never thought Villa's problems were lying with the striker.
Yeah,
I thought it was always, like you said, if you put Watkins there, we probably would have had the same outcome. But the problems for me lie within our creation. Like we don't create enough for them. Like what was it?
Enough quality.
15 shots, 2 on target, 11 of them were outside the box, and we got 0.6 XG. So there's just basically no clear-cut chances whatsoever. And I felt it throughout pre-season. The game was ticking over, and the game's kind of just like rolling on before you, and Villa weren't really doing anything. I know we won against Stade Rennais and whatnot, and we beat Leeds. There was a penalty. These aren't chances we're creating. So I don't know if he's leaning on players like Coutinho and Ings just to give them that moment of magic to get a win out of nothing or whatever. But the main issue for me is our creation throughout the game.
Yeah. Just on Bournemouth, it's probably the last talking point on them, because obviously we've done a 25-minute podcast on Saturday night. It's more for your opinion more so than anything, because obviously you've not spoken about it. Kamara, probably the one minor positive, one minor standout. I think Ash gave him a 6 out of 10, which is hardly a glowing performance, but best of a bad bunch at least, and some of his stats were okay, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't want to dress this up too much as like Kamara's like the best thing ever in a 2-0 loss, because ultimately we lost the game. But again, reasons for optimism, Pat. Give me something.
I feel like that was a bottom of the barrel, like bare minimum performance from him, and it's impressive. Like he probably was one of the only positives to take from it, but that wasn't him at his best. Like I was looking at the stats, I didn't see the full game. I've only had to watch extended highlights because obviously I was away. But he was just doing everything you'd expect from him, breaking play up a bit. his long passing, whatnot, just to help it, slotting in between the defenders, helping defensively. I mean, Bournemouth had scored 2 goals from 0.5 xG, which was less than we created. It's just 2 very avoidable set-piece goals. So there's obviously issues, but I'm hoping moving forward when other things start to click, that Kamara, you see the best of Kamara, because that wasn't the best of Kamara, but he was still very, very good. So yeah, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, Villa's best performer, but I'm not saying this is a good performance, and I'm excited by it. But like I said, I've got to cling on to some kind of positives just for my own brain at this point, otherwise I'm going to lose it. Let's forget about Bournemouth. It's done now. We're midway through the week. Yeah, forget it ever happened until we play them again and they get 6 points off us like the Watford did. You got to laugh, haven't you? Let's turn our attention to Everton a little bit then. Talked about a predicted 11 and stuff, but we'll get onto that in a sec. There's a lot of talk, when we're saying, got a caveat, it's only one game and let's not get too carried away. There's still 37 to go. A lot of people counter that with saying, well, it's not just one game, it's 20 points in 2022 or whatever the figure is. It's 2 wins in 12. That's what the worry is. And people were saying the same thing about Dean Smith last season. It's not just the first 7 games of the season. It's the whole of 2021's been poor, whatever. Mm-hmm. I said on Saturday that you've still got to give Gerrard that time this season to put things right from last. My perspective on that 2 wins in 12 thing is that, again, this is just me as a fan, my own kind of peace of mind. Just forget about last season. That's the only way I can deal with it. You've just got to kind of compartmentalize it and go, that was a different season against a few different teams. We've got new players since then. We've had a pre-season to work on new things and hopefully fix the errors of last season. Kind of write off the poor form of last season to a certain extent. I get that it's still a worry, but just for my own sanity, I've got to kind of forget the 2 wins and 12 thing and go, it's 1 loss from 1. That's all I'm focused on, just Bournemouth. And if on Saturday it's 2 losses from 2 or 1 win, 1 loss, I'm just focused on this season. It's the only way I can get through my day, to be honest.
Yeah, I've thought about this quite a lot. I was speaking to my friends and my dad about it, actually. Like, when your job is to write between 8 and 10 reports on Villa a day, and you look at things like that, I just feel like your quality of life and is just going to depreciate rapidly. So yeah, I feel like back end of last season, it's like the season before. Do you remember we went on that run? We were beating we didn't have Grealish, and we were beating like Everton and whatnot. Just like those, it's the end of the season results that just weird things happen. Teams have nothing to play for. So I'm trying. You can't just write off completely, but when you dive deeper in it, you probably can just be like, there's no need to look at it really.
I get it. I get the frustration.
I get what they're making. Yeah, sometimes you do have to look at it. For my own mental sanity, I'm not going to look at it. Maybe.
Yeah, that's it. I'm literally just going to blind myself by it. I get it. It exists. There's a comment here saying, "Did we see any evidence of new things on Saturday?" Though, no, we didn't. I get that. It wasn't any better on Saturday than it was on the back end of last season. I agree with that. But I've got to put that down to 1 game, and I'll judge it against. I'll judge Bournemouth against Everton, basically. Yeah. If Everton is vastly improved, as much as that might not be consistent, and we can keep that up, I'll judge the Everton game against Bournemouth. I can't just look back at the last 10, 15 or whatever, because I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah, I'll lose the plot, lose all motivation to get up for work. I can't.
It's just not worth it.
If it continues past Everton, then you can start looking into the overall job he's done, because if there's no improvements at all after the pre-season he was asking for and the signings he was asking for, then obviously there's an issue that needs addressing. But until then, I feel like I'll just back it to change, hedge my bets, and just stay as positive as possible.
So I said about this podcast is called Reasons for Optimism, so we're trying to keep with it. Do you want to do predicted 11 and stuff for Everton first, or do you want to talk about Tyrone Mings?
Oh, maybe we go Mings first.
Okay, should we get Tyrone Mings out of the way? I've spoken about this a little bit on Saturday. Like I said, I've had a few days to think about it further. Let's start with you, though. Tell me your opinions on what unfolded on Saturday afternoon in terms of, again, we've not spoken to you since last season, captaincy change, not playing the first game, comments afterwards, and then revealing that he's got a groin problem, I think it was. So your kind of take on Tyrone Mings for us.
First, the captaincy change. I always thought Gerrard was going to change it just for the sake of changing it. It's his captain kind of thing. He's not carrying on from the last regime and whatnot. Not sure I agreed with it. I didn't I wasn't too sure about. I do think Mings is one of the best leaders in the squad, if not the only leader. But I was open to the idea of McGinn having a crack at it. McGinn's, he's captain Scotland before, I'm pretty sure, and that's got the likes of Andy Robertson in the squad. Like, they're good players in the Scotland squad, and he's an international player. Like, he's obviously a senior member within the squad, and people respect him. So I was all for it. I'm still all for it. I'll see how it unfolds. I thought Mings handled it well. Gerrard's comments weren't too abrupt following that. I was agreed with it all. And then I was away, and you see snippets of the quotes, don't you? When you just people take what they want from it. And it was the looking in the eye comment. And initially, my first reaction was, okay, maybe he's he tends to be just abrupt and upfront after the games, doesn't he? So I just thought it was one of those comments after, and it's taken out of context. But it did seem a bit, I don't know, unnecessary. But then I read the full quotes and I didn't see any problems with it. It goes on to state that Mings has got an injury. I think someone's just snippet like half of the quotes. It's been taken out of context, and it's just raveled, like Chinese whispers have gone on, and it's just been made into a bigger issue than it needs to be. I think you were saying it's in the problem that Villa probably don't need right now, like with everything that's going on in the pitch. You don't need off the field issues, and I think the fan base, all of us, are probably guilty of emphasising those issues. I'm pretty sure there's not a problem between Gerrard and Mings. Mings probably knows when he comes back from injury, he's going to have to fight for his place, and that was always going to be the motive for the season. I don't think there's anything in it. I think when Villa lose and it's bad on the pitch, people hang on to things off the pitch and need to find a reason for why things happened, and a bit of negativity, because we all have a bit of negativity as a Villa fan base. But yeah, I'm not reading too much into it. I'm 90% sure there's not a problem between the two. Both consummate professionals, and I'm fine with it.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm probably going to do a lot of talking for the next couple of minutes or so. So I've got a load of quotes from John Townley as well. His opinion on it. He's wrote a nice opinion piece about it, which is kind of your side of the argument as well. So I want to have balance here. I want to look at both sides of the coin. We talked about it on Saturday night, only seeing the look in the eyes comments. I think it was in WM. They tweeted it, I think, saying, once Tyrone tells me he's ready to go and looks me in the eye and says I'm ready to play, he's got a chance of getting back in the squad or whatever. I still don't like that comment, even with the injury stuff. I still don't like that. I don't know what the need is to kind of out Mings, who didn't even play, didn't even come off the bench. Yeah. The injury stuff that came out afterwards, and having a scan on Monday revealing a little groin niggle or whatever that he's been managing. Yeah, fair enough. If he's injured, he's injured. He sat on the bench against Bournemouth. So is he injured? Is he that injured? Is he ready to go? Would he be ready for 15 minutes, 20 minutes? Is he not ready to start games? It's one of those things that, again, like I said to you before, it's a problem that Villa don't need to create for themselves, this Tyrone Mings issue, because this is all anyone is talking about on social media since Saturday, which, to be honest, is a bit of a distraction from the way that we played, which maybe that's the thinking. Maybe it's a bit Mourinho-esque. Let's just talk about Tyrone Mings and the captaincy and away from performance.
Still leading us off the pitch.
So this is all people are talking about now. So this is a problem that Villa didn't need. It's this negative atmosphere now of the fan base talking about it, and it's strange to me because this is on two fronts really. Last season, everyone's talking about Gerrard out, whatever. He's not good enough. He's not ready. No, sorry, Dean Smith. Slip of the tongue there. Dean Smith, get rid of him. Not good enough. Blah blah blah. And there's now people going, maybe Dean Smith wasn't that bad. Maybe Dean Smith could come back. It's like, oh my God, everyone was going crazy for getting rid of him to begin with. And the flip side of that, Tyrone Mings. Everyone wanted him out the side. Yeah. Everyone wanted him sold, replaced, get rid of him, make too many mistakes. And then he doesn't play one game of the new season. Everyone's going, get Tyrone Mings back in there. He's the best centre back we've got.
Memories, isn't it?
It's hard. So the fan base can't win which way we go. But I don't feel like we needed this problem. It's almost like there was no need to even. I know he was asked about Mings, but almost why mention it, so to speak? Why mention the look me in the eye thing and tell me he's ready? Just say he didn't play because he's injured. And no one really even talks about it then. So this is a problem I don't think Villa needed and have created for themselves, and we'll see what happens on Saturday. If he's fit and ready and starts and plays well, then Mings and Carlos, I think, is a good centre-half partnership.
Yeah, I said that.
I think that's good. So I don't think Gerrard's come out of it great, but I think there has been an overreaction as well to the comments weren't as bad as people were expecting. Things do get taken out of context. There's a bit from John that I want to read. It's a couple of paragraphs long, so do bear with me. He says, despite strong backlash, the basis of Gerrard's comments were not out of order. Perhaps he could have delivered his words more effectively, but given the direct line of questioning about a single player who hadn't featured in the match, which Villa lost in terrible fashion, it's understandable that his tempers might flare. Gerrard can get emotional and passionate in certain environments, especially minutes after the full-time whistle, but he is paid to make the big decisions and he'll stand by them, despite being bombarded with opinions that Mings should not have been replaced as captain. And just caveat, I don't care about the captaincy thing. Whatever. He's picked a new man. I don't mind that. The way Mings reacted to that, it is what it is. From the day he walked through the door, Gerrard made it very clear that he would appoint his own captain and given every member of squad the opportunity to step up and win the armband. So going back to Gerrard's comments post-Bournemouth, specifically the challenge that he has set Mings of getting back into the squad, what was he supposed to say after being directly asked why he elected not to start him? Being an elite professional and international footballer, Mings will respect Gerrard's honesty and reasoning behind replacing him as captain after being promised a place back into the team if his performances are at a consistent level. In Gerrard's view, removing the armband would help him achieve that, which again, I think is fair. Perhaps the inclusion of Mings would have prevented Bournemouth from scoring 2 goals. Perhaps it wouldn't. There was no uproar when the team sheet was released at 2 p.m. In fact, he was carrying an injury and a scan on Monday revealed bruising in his groin. So what happens from here? For Mings, it's time to knuckle down and win his place back in the team. He was missed at the Vitality Stadium and he knows a strong few weeks at Bodymoor Heath without any external distractions will put him firmly back in Gerrard's plans, which is now, 3 or 4 days after the event, is how I feel about it. I didn't like it on Saturday night when things were taken out of context. I thought, again, it's a problem that I don't need to create. I think now, Conser didn't do a fat lot. We lost 2-0. Carlos is always going to start. You'd expect
marking the 2 players from the set.
Yeah, honestly, I thought it'd be Chambers that would have started the season anyway over Conser. As much as Conser's made this miraculous recovery, he's played like 2 games in pre-season, 2 or 3 games. Like Chambers had done nothing wrong to not start. I don't think so. If it was Chambers and Carlos, maybe it would be totally different. If Mings is fit and available, I do think Mings and Carlos is probably our best centre-half partnership at the moment. Yeah. And it's up to Mings now to overcome an injury, impress Gerrard on the training pitch and get back in. That is football, isn't it? Yeah. But yeah, just again, it feels like we're talking about this thing that probably isn't really a problem. And if we'd have won against Bournemouth, this would not have been a problem.
Yeah, I just don't see how Gerrard after the whole. Obviously, Mings isn't just a Villa fan base talking about either, is it? Mings, when Mings says something, the whole kind of like country listens. He's quite a well-known figure in the Premier League, isn't he? People hang on to things, fans abuse him from rival teams. They love to do that. So the whole nation's kind of hung on to these quotes now. So it's got a bit inflated. But I can't see how you could just bring him back into the lineup if he's. And now you're saying he's got an injury this week. Well, he maybe won't train for the rest of the week. So if he comes back in, I don't know. I just can't see him coming in for Saturday's game. So I'd probably like to see Chambers. But then again, you probably got the same issues defending set pieces then, haven't you? And Villa were bad at defending set pieces with Mings on the pitch last season anyway. Do you remember the start of last season, mate? I think we were top for most goals conceded from a set piece, and then it was the Arsenal game. Partey scored a header from a corner. I think it's just an underlying issue with our team, to be honest, which doesn't bode well for Everton either, because I think they were second for XG created from set pieces, and they've got the most dominant player in the air in the league last season in Tarkowski. I think he won 171 aerial duels, which is about 20 more than anyone else in the league. So I think they predicted 11 as well with 3 centre halves, and one of them's kind of Cody as well. So there's going to be aerial threats there. I don't know how we're going to deal with them.
Just talk about Luca Dean very quickly. There's a lot of talk about him being off the pitch when Bournemouth scored for taking off some jewellery.
Was this real? I got 2 opinions from it. My friend said it was real, and then someone said he was on the pitch when they scored.
Well, for the corner, when they scored, he is on the pitch. You can see the number 27 shirt in the box. Neil from the Full of Paul McGrath podcast has done like a tactical analysis, and he's gone through it. The screenshots from the live feed show Dean is on the pitch, number 27. So all this talk about him being off the pitch when they scored isn't correct. Now, he did have to go off the pitch before the corner. The corner was conceded while he was off the pitch. Now, I actually missed the first couple of minutes of the game on Saturday, so I've not seen it live myself. Talk about bloody nose, so potentially going off for that. So I don't know whether he's taken a whack and it's got to go off to get blood cleaned up, which is a common thing. You would assume that referees and officials and the amount of staff that work at Villa would check for jewellery before a game, and Dean wouldn't be wearing any, but things do slip through that. So there's a bit of conjecture as to why he was off the pitch, but for when the goal physically went into the back of the net, Dean was defending that corner. So
this is what happens when we concede set pieces, though. People don't look at sometimes they don't focus on actually what happened at the set piece. They also like to look at how we conceded the set piece. Do you remember the Wolves 3-2 loss? It was like Matt Target turned around in the wall. He shouldn't have turned around, and then they got a corner. It's just those are little things. But he should. That's inexcusable. Obviously, he shouldn't be forced off the pitch due to jewellery.
Yeah, it's one of them. We've lost the game, so there's rumours, there's a speculation, there's conjecture about how things have gone wrong. Yeah, it's especially being away, not being on TV. There's not enough people to confirm or deny what happened. So there's not many people at the ground. It's only like a 10,000 attendance with 1,000 Villa fans. So it all feels a bit like a weird pre-season friendly we're talking about that not really anyone's properly seen what's happened. Yeah. I said about 15 minutes ago, let's move on from Bournemouth. Yet here we are still talking about it. When I asked you if you wanted to do Everton or Mings, you should have said Everton, so we could have just moved on. Let's talk about. Yeah, that's true. And we said that we've made changes. We've made changes to the preview format, the ones that we do with Ash on a Friday. There's times where we were talking about getting an opposition reporter on, doing 10 minutes on the Everton lineup and who their best performer is and all that kind of stuff. And I just realised that don't care. A lot of the audience didn't really seem to care because the views weren't great. And I was kind of saying, stick to Villa. So we are going to stick to Villa. So as much as we're going to be talking about the Everton game, it's how Villa approach the Everton game. I don't care what Everton star man is or whatever. They've played one game as well. So exactly. They've lost with Richarlison. They're a favourite to go down. Yeah, we're at home. I expect us to win. Even after
one
Saturday.
recognised striker, and it's Solomon Rondon. If we do not win,
if we don't win, we're in big trouble. So changes for Everton now. I know you've done a predicted 11. Do you want me to flash it up first and talk through it?
Yeah, lock it up.
Okay, so this is your 11 for Saturday. Martinez in goal, Dean, Cash, Carlos and Chambers as the back four. Kamara sitting with McGinn and Louise. And Bailey, Buendia on the left and Watkins up front. Talk to me about that. Is that 3 changes?
Louise, Buendia and Chambers. Yeah, 3. Actually, no, 4 Watkins as well, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4. First of all, let's just compliment the graphic. How good is that graphic? No, basically my thoughts with obviously Watkins. If we're playing one up front, unless he goes back to Diamond, I'd rather have Watkins up there, so it's a no-brainer. I don't think Bailey should be dropped. I hope he doesn't scapegoat him and just drop him. I wouldn't. Everyone wants to say Bailey. He's a star.
Bailey wasn't great. He wasn't great on Saturday, but he's had a good pre-season, so benefit the doubt if it's the same system.
He deserves a nod again.
Bailey players, yeah.
Buendia, before Coutinho came, I was looking at the games I could remember him playing in. And do you remember the 2-1 against Leicester, the Brentford game at away where we lost, but Buendia set up Danny Ings and slotted him in. And the FA Cup game against Manchester United. And there's a few others as well, but those are the ones that stuck in my mind. I remember thinking in the United game when I was there, because I went to that with my friend, that Buendia was just one of the best players on the pitch. We just looked really bright with him on the left, linking up with Watkins. I don't know how we lost that game because we had so many chances. But I feel like Buendia got into form and was playing his best football on the left. And obviously Coutinho came in, and obviously there's this argument of Gerrard's preference for Coutinho to be out there. But I'd like to see Buendia start on the left, to be honest. Gerrard talks about earning the shirt to Mings, like you said earlier, but then you can't have one rule for one player and another rule for another. So if Coutinho wants to keep the shirt, he needs to step up, and Buendia probably deserves to be given a chance. I'd like to see him on the left. Louise for Ramsey, just add that bit of control. It doesn't sound like Ramsey had too good of a game. I didn't think he was that good in pre-season either. I was unsure whether or not Louise was going to get a start, because I'm pretty sure he went for Louise, McGinn, Kamara in the Stade Rennais game, didn't he? And I thought this is the best indication of what he's going to go for when we get to the actual game. Chambers, I just think he has to make a change in defence, and Konza losing his man on both occasions for those set pieces. If it's not Mings, obviously it has to be Chambers. Chambers never really put a foot wrong in a Villa shirt. Everyone loves him when he plays. He offers a bit of control from the back. He's not the tallest, but he defends well. He's physical. So yeah, he'd be my change there. Other than that, no, that's it.
There's a lot of suggestions that Everton will play a 3 at the back. Obviously, Connor Cody's joined there, who's a 3 at the back merchant. I think Cody's a decent signing, to be fair. I actually think that's quite strange from Wolves. I don't know whether there's more to it, but loaning out your captain of 4 or 5 years for the season, I think he'll leave permanently. But I don't know, it just feels a bit weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, you expect them to play 3 at the back. Is there any chance you or Stephen Joe would be tempted by the 4-3-1-2 or 4-3-2-1 formation to have 2 strikers against the 3 centre halves?
I know the only one
Watkins play together. Because as much as I want Buendia to play, I think it'll be Coutinho still, and I think it might be 2 up front, Ings and Watkins with Coutinho behind.
The only thing putting me off, if he does go for a 4-3-1-2, the narrow diamond, it probably would stress me out a bit, because we've seen before, like again in the pre-season friendly against United, when you play that narrow formation, you have people that stay wide. It just like stretches you limb from limb, doesn't it? And they've got so much space to operate in. I think Sancho and Rashford just had an absolute joy down there, didn't they?
So it's all the same thing against Bournemouth as well. Dean and Cash going forward is all well and good, but if McGinn and Ramsey are playing fake fullbacks to cover for them, well, it doesn't make any sense.
It was a new issue against Bournemouth, I'm pretty sure. I think Talking Tactics looked at it. It was the gaps in midfield. Like before, it was the gaps between the centre halves and the fullbacks. Now it's the gaps in midfield. Like one person, everyone wants to get forward. Kamara slots into the back line, and there's just gaps everywhere. There's just no midfield pretty much at times. So it's not ideal. So the only other one I'd be tempted for was a 4-2-3-1, kind of like a Dean Smith era formation. But then again, if McGinn's the captain, I don't see how he fits into it, because whenever McGinn's played in that double pivot, I just haven't liked it. I think that was the first game of the season against Watford last year, the Southampton game that eventually got Smith the sack. I wouldn't like to see that. I don't think if he did it, I'd like to see Kamara and Luiz, but is he going to drop the captain second games of the season? This is the whole issue about it, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you could have Kamara and Luiz as a 2, McGinn as the furthest forward central midfielder, not quite a number 10, and then have Coutinho and Bailey wide. You could have Bailey left, Buendia off the right, cutting in. McGinn isn't kind of a number 10. But then if you're playing number 10, it's got to be Coutinho or Buendia, isn't it? Why is it John
If there's number 10 to be had, it's always Coutinho, because in that diamond, that is when Coutinho looks the best. And I think that's why Gerrard's tempted to play it all the time. Because when Coutinho's got 3 midfielders behind him and people ahead of him, he's got that space in between. That's when he's at his best. All those games, Leeds, Brighton, Southampton, all those games.
I think that's pretty much it. Besides a score prediction from the game, I am tracking score predictions this season between me and Ash specifically, because obviously we'll do a podcast every single week, guaranteed. I can't kind of guess whether you or John or Matt or whoever will be on each week. But I'll write it down anyway on my little spreadsheet. So, score prediction for Saturday. Do you want to?
I can't believe I'm saying stop the rot in the second game of the season, but I'm going to say stop the rot. 1-0. Stop the rot.
Oh God! This
is what it's come to. Fast forward to May already, please.
I mean, like I said at the top of the show, like if we look at Arsenal and Newcastle as just two options from last year, you can have a poor start and still have a good season. Likewise, the reverse, you can have a good start. Do you remember the year before when us and Everton were up in the top 4, I think, for the first couple of weeks of the season?
Title race.
Yeah, exactly. Kazoo title race. I see it now. A couple of years on, Everton are favourites one of the favourites to go down. You've got to beat Everton. Like I said, you've got to not have that horrible home atmosphere, and then you take that kind of momentum into Crystal Palace. I wrote a quick newsletter on Monday to kind of promote the Saturday's podcast, and I finished it by saying, I'm not sure what else I can say. I won't write off a 38-game season after the first game. In brackets, Liverpool also drew to Fulham. Like, they're not going to write off their title charge. But they were worrying signs in the season opener. And a big but, I will inevitably change my tune if we beat Everton at home and follow it up with a result against Crystal Palace. So that's up to you, Stevie G. Prove me wrong. Show us that Bournemouth... Oh, my God, I've gone off the page. Where is it? Prove me wrong. Show us that Bournemouth was the anomaly, the blip, and the banana skin. Beat Everton, and my mood swings back in your favour. So I'll put us down to win. But like I said, the atmosphere will change if we win. We've got to start winning home games, as Gaz says in the comments there. Me and Ash spoke about trying to win double figures of home games at least to kind of give yourselves a good foundation. So win on Saturday, get something decent against Crystal Palace, and we'll probably all look back at Bournemouth with a tinge of regret of what might have been, but not the disaster that we've all felt it has been since Saturday. So for me, 2-0 Villa. Get a clean sheet as well.
As a side note, if anyone has a spare ticket, I'm willing to send my girlfriend there as just on her own.
Because she's a good luck charm, isn't she?
First game she watched Liverpool 7-2. First game she went to Everton 3-0 at home. And then the last game I took her to, the only other game she's been to, was the 4-0 against Southampton. So if anyone wants to, I'll just send her in like a good luck grenade and just leave her in there.
I mean, it's not great to sit on the podcast and offer out your girlfriend for services to go to football, but less said about that, the better. That's enough for the football chat for now. We're going to have a quick shout out as well to our half marathon attempt. This is the first time we've spoken about this on a specifically football related podcast. I did one with Danny from the Bedford Lions on the weekend, where we talked about Villa Women and Villa Bellas and all the different things she's up to, and we spoke about the marathon in that. Obviously, this is the first kind of dedicated football show we've had since then. So we are running the half marathon in Birmingham in 2023 in May. There's a donation link in the bottom of this podcast if you want to go and send us the cost of a halftime bovril or pretty much pie or whatever, and that would be greatly appreciated. Pat, have you ever done a marathon before? It's half marathon, by the way.
Funnily enough, no. Have I ever run a 10K before? No. It's going to be hell on earth. Yeah.
What did you, when I sent that message around the group chat, what did you think when I first said, do you want to do it?
I just thought I'd do it. I've got 9 months to get in some reasonable running shape. I'm good when I set my mind to something. So as long as there's an end goal, I'll just... The stress of not being able to do it and knowing that people know I'm doing it, it's making me do it.
Yeah. I felt like if one of you, like I said, let's run a marathon, I'd have gone, you're joking, aren't you? There's no way I'm going to do that. But because it's my idea, I'm all on board for it. As people will know, Ash does a lot of running. He's out at 5 a.m. doing 5Ks in Birmingham, which is obviously great for him. I think John has done a few 10Ks in his time, but he says he hasn't run for a while. You've not run much at all.
Put my glasses on Alex Dickin and let him run it.
Alex Dickin, who works with us, is a runner. He's got a great 5K record.
It's
like 16 minutes or something. Yeah. It's absolutely ridiculous. I used to do some running in lockdown, but I've definitely got out of shape. And we keep saying on these podcasts, me and Matt especially, when we do these ones in person, like the pre-season reviews and stuff, we always look at ourselves back on camera and go, "Oh, we need to lose some weight. Like I've got to do it. Well, the next time we do one of these, I need to lose some weight." So, by the end of next season, when we're coming to the end of the season review, I want to have lost some weight. How can I do that? Oh, let's run a half marathon because that's the only thing that will kind of keep me like on track. So I said, if we do it publicly and say let's raise some money for Acorns and the AVFC Foundation as well, it kind of gives us motivation to do it. People know about it now, so we can't back out. So I've now physically got to go out there in 30-degree heat at some point in the next few weeks and start some training because I'm miles off it at the moment. So as I said, there is a donation link to that. If you want to help us out, that'd be great. I'll put it in the Facebook comments as well. That link will be on every podcast that we do now for the next 9 months. So if you've missed it, you can find it there. There's been a lot of messages of support in the comments of this and on social media as well. So thank you. I think we're going to need it. Yeah. And Pat, we'll meet up for a run at some point in person and we'll do some training together like Rocky Balboa. Yeah. Pat, thanks for your time as ever, and thanks for coming back to the podcast after a long absence. Me and Ash will do one on Friday afternoon after the press conference or Friday morning, and we'll talk about a kind of updated predicted 11, I guess, and what Ash thinks will happen, what Gerard said in his presser, and then I think it'll be me and Matt Kendrick on Saturday lunchtime or Saturday afternoon. It's obviously the 12:30 kickoff, so me and Matt Kendrick will be back for our usual post-match reactions. Thanks to the 300 people that are watching this live on Wednesday morning. We salute you for joining us. We'll see you again on Friday. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please do let us know. We love hearing your feedback. We'll be back soon with another episode, but until then, up the Villa.